Today, let's clean out my sewing room to start fresh. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and as you can see, my sewing space is a mess right now. Normally, I try to clean this about once per season. I got behind though, I did not really clean it over the summer, and it has just been piling up, and today we need to clean this through. So I'm going to be providing you my tips for cleaning your sewing space in case you're interested. My first is I go through on my table and remove everything so that I can see what I have. So for example, these are all of the threads that were stored on the table in different places. What I like to do though is I like to keep out the threads that I will probably be using the most, especially most recently. So I know I'm going to be doing a lot of Christmas sewing, so I'm going to keep out reds, greens, neutrals such as black and white. I just always kind of keep those out on hand. And then I go through the threads that I had kept out so that I could get to them easily and just take any of those that I'm not going to be using. The summer I did a lot with blues. I'm probably not going to be using the blues. I'm going to keep the gold in there though, and then I just sort of repackage these so that I can get to them easily and know which ones I want to keep out. I find that this is a lot easier for me, especially when I'm just doing little items at the end of the day, instead of having to take out all of my threads and search for a color. So then for all of these, I know that I can just put them back away with the rest of my threads in storage. Second item that I go through whenever I'm doing a deep cleaning is it is time to really give some love to my sewing machine. So I will go through, change the needle. So I just finished a big project and I know that I needed a new universal needle in there. So I put a universal needle in. If I know I'm going to be doing something that will not use a universal needle, I may switch it, but I normally just keep a universal needle on hand. And then I clean out the entire little bobbin area of any lint or debris, and then put everything back in its place and put in a new bobbin. So I've already sewn a little bit with this, and I can tell you my machine is so much quieter and I believe happier. Then after I do that, the actual table itself, I do a really thorough wipe down. So as you can see, there's lots of little threads, there's lots of little strips here. So I just go through, I wipe all of this down. I have a little vacuum, I've used that before as well, but this time I really wanted to clean it as there was like some little pieces of chalk that had gotten on the table. So I wanted to give it a thorough wipe down and get that all nice and clean. Then it's time to move over to my serger. So anyone with a serger knows they get dirty so fast. So I do try to do maintenance a little bit more regularly on the serger, but today was just its time. So I cleaned all the lint and then I used some oil and oiled any place where metal touches metal. So I just put a couple drops in those locations and then just spread the oil around so there's not like large amounts of oil anywhere. And then I'll do the little hand wheel on my serger a couple times just to make sure everything is nice and lubricated. And then my serger's good to go. Then I just sharpen my fabric shears. While I do love a rotary cutter, I do find myself using probably my shears the most often. Now it is time to go towards my fabric. So I am very limited on storage. If you are new here, I do not have that much. So I put everything into these bins in this little closet. So when it comes time to using tools, I normally put them away, especially ones that I know I'm not going to be using anymore coming up soon. And then for all of my patterns, I can get really bad about this. And once I finish a pattern, I just sort of leave it out. So I really have to remind myself to clean it up, put all those pattern pieces back into the envelope like I just did here. So this one can now be put away as well. Then over next to my sewing machine, I have this large stuffed animal, and to be honest with you, there's a bunch of fabric behind it that I've been using to hide. So I'm just going to go through here, clean all of this up. I'm going to be putting a Christmas tree in this location as it gets closer to Christmas, so I really need to organize this area to make room. Then for the actual fabric bins themselves, what I'm going to do now is put away any of that fabric that I no longer need from like old projects over the summer, but then I'm also going to be taking out some projects that I have coming up. So as an example, I have this really fun Olaf fabric in here. I want to make like a really comfy quilt with it and I just haven't done it yet. I also have in here a bunch of these Western themed shirts that my husband had bought. Unfortunately, they do not fit him, they are too small, but we got them off eBay, so we need to figure out something to do with them. So there's probably about like 5 or 6 shirts, so if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. I also am going to be taking out some of this really fun pink fabric. I have an idea upcoming for that. I also grabbed some other knits that were in this fabric bin as well. Once I had gone through and sort of organized all of that, I started to put away the fabric bins, get my closet back in order, and then here's some of the fabrics I took out. So this is also another piece where I would love your input is what do you want to see for Stitchmas this year? So if you're new here, Stitchmas is my version of Vlogmas where we do 12 sewing videos leading up to Christmas. I have some ideas with these fabrics that you can see here, like denim and knit, but I would love to know, what do you want to see? Let me know in the comments or feel free to message me on Instagram. So now that we have everything cleaned up, it looks so much better. We have space for the Christmas tree. I think my sewing machine and serger have been given their nice little spa day, and I have all of my projects that will be coming up immediately. Now it's just time to really start focusing on what I want to do in December and getting some of my holiday projects ready to go. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for watching.